Hey there, I'm Coach Michael Bird, the Super Coach, and every month I like to do one of my favorite shows called Good Coach, Bad Coach, the secrets that great coaches know that the other coaches never figure out. And we pump this out as a podcast. We pump it out on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn because we are living in what I call a coaching revolution. I just wrote a brand new book called Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. And I firmly believe that. But what if you have a bad coach? What if you have a coach that does not understand how to activate potential? What if you have a coach that doesn't understand how to find, mitigate, and manage team dysfunction? What if you have a coach who doesn't understand how to build culture that gives birth to potential? And so I put this show together based on an old concept called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the secrets that the rich know that the poor and middle class never figure out. And I said, what if I could compare and contrast the habits of good coaches versus the habits of bad coaches? Because if you have kids, you want your kid to play for a good coach. If you have kids in school, you want them to be good teachers. If you are in the business world, you want to have a good coach. But what if you're a coach? And today I was speaking to managers of the Murfreesboro, the Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Corporation, and they were managing other people. And I said, there's a big difference between a supervisor, a manager, and a coach. A coach is a person that engages a person in a set of systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they cannot do today. A culture is in the business of a coach is in the business of building a culture, and a culture is how we do business. The fluidness of thought, the energy that we create, the actions that we take. And so in this episode of Good Coach, Bad Coach, for all my coaches, leaders out there, I'm going to unpack an article I wrote that was very popular. It came out not long ago called How to Kickstart a Culture That Turns Into a Dynasty. Now, my old high school basketball team has now won 6 of the last 8 state championships. They have been the national championship team 2 times. And I went there early on and spent a decade of my life building this culture. This culture of expectation, the culture of results. And there was some knockdowns, head-on collisions along the way. There were years of losing in the beginning. We would make 2 steps forward and take 3 steps back. But ultimately, over a period of a decade, we kick-started a culture. That culture has now turned into a dynasty. And I suspect they could win many, many more games. So how do you do that? If you're out there like my good friend Kim Rosamond at Tennessee Tech trying to build a culture, if you're like Rick Insell that came into MTSU and has built a culture, if you're like my buddy Matt Insell at Ole Miss, you're trying to build a culture that eventually turns into a freaking machine, like the Tennessee was for years, like UConn is today, like something that just perpetuates year over year over year. I'm going to show you 7 things I did to kickstart a culture that turned into a dynasty. Number 1, I use sport to teach people how to be successful. I use sport to drive a competitive intelligence in my players. Like an IV drip daily, we implanted constant leadership, savvy, bounce back, expectation, confidence into our players. We built our own little greatness factory. So I want you to imagine this. We built a system. Now if you study McDonald's, Ray Kroc, the E-Myth, they talk about going to work on your business versus in your business. Well, if you're a coach, the business you're in is the business of building a system that you can put people in and they can be very successful. So when a player came to play for me, we spent 5.5 hours a day per day over 4 years with our players. And we implanted success, knowledge, skill, desire, confidence, likability. And what this built in our players, body, mind, heart, spirit, is it built what I began to call a competitive intelligence. It was a separator. When all things were equal, when all things were the same, we won on competitive intelligence. Our players were smarter. They were more connected. They believed in each other more. The chemistry was higher. All of that was there because they had this competitive intelligence. Where did the competitive intelligence come from? Right here. What was in my brain? Pouring it into them like an IV drip, taking it out of me into them. Well, if you're a manager, how can you do this if people only spend 15 minutes with you? What if they only spend 5 minutes with you a week? How are you pouring what it is you have in you into them? So number one, we built competitive intelligence to kickstart a dynasty. Number two, we torched everything that was old and replaced it with everything that was new. We went to work on replacing anything that would make the players feel less than first class. We remodeled the locker room, coaches' offices, gym floor, uniforms, schedule, Christmas tournaments. We went to work on torching anything that I thought, man, I know the players don't feel first class when they're wearing that, when we're traveling like this, when we're staying in crappy hotels, when the offices are cheap. When I first got the head coaching job, there was a big a concrete wall right down the middle of our locker room that separated the old players and the young players. And the first thing I said is, that wall has got to go. That wall has got to go. This locker room has got to go. These offices have got to go. It's all got to go, man. It's all got to go. Torched it. So number two is I went in and I said, we can't have people acting first class and treating them second class. Number three, and then we're going to take a break. I hired key people who had a killer instinct. I think your staff should be a collection of people who believe the same things you do. And there's three types of people. There's finders, people that find opportunity. There's minders, people that tend to opportunities being created. And there's grinders. These are people who just come in and just grind it out, baby. So there's people that see it. There's people that tend to what's been seen. And there's people that just get in there and do the dirty work to make it happen. You need a staff of all three of those people. Everybody's got to know their role. Everybody's got to do their job. We raised expectation. We held people accountable to a new standard. In today's world, everybody thinks the number one. Everybody can't be the number one. There's got to be a number two. There's got to be a number three. There's got to be a number four. Everybody's got a unique role they bring to the party. So what I did is I went out and aligned myself with other people who believed the same things I did. More than anything, they had a killer instinct. So think about your team right now. Skills that got you out of Egypt can't always get you to the promised land. Some people were more valuable to you in the past than they are in the future. And so for you, maybe you don't have the team that can get you elevation, that can win a championship. I'm not talking about your players, your staff, the people you rely on every single day. These are three things I did to build a culture that turned into a dynasty. And we come back in the next segment. I'm going to give you 4 through 7. It has to do with playing up. Has to do with pushing the envelope. Has to do with acting as if we were already big time. It had to do with embracing our dark side. When we come back, you're watching Good Coach, Bad Coach. And I'm Coach Michael Burt. Hey guys, Coach Michael Burt. How do you find the right coach for you? There's personal coaches, there's life coaches, there's business coaches, there's spiritual coaches. Here's the deal. You got to find a coach you have an affinity with. You believe the same things. I believe trained people always outperform untrained people. I believe coach people always outperform uncoached people. You got to find a coach that you think brings the knowledge and the skill and the desire and the confidence to you that will work for you. I would love to be that coach through my new Total Growth Academy. Go to CoachBurt.com, click on virtual coaching, and get coached by me every day on any device, anywhere on planet Earth. Welcome back, Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets of great coaches know that the others never figure out. The reason this show today is important on kickstarting a culture is because you are the chief culture officer. If you don't know how to build a culture, your culture is going to be stagnant. It's not going to be dynamic. It's going to be entropic. It's not going to be dynamic. What I'm sharing with you is I showed a demonstrated capacity to build a culture that produced. I showed a demonstrated capacity in our business to build a culture. And I will tell you this, a lot of the people I had on the journey weren't the right people. They were not ready. I was not ready to be the leader. I didn't understand how to build culture. And so in today's world, how do you kickstart a culture that builds a dynasty? Okay, what I tell you, number one, you got to, what did I say number one was? Number one is I use sport to teach him competitive intelligence. Listen, I'm challenging my people every day that work with me. Every day I'm building competitive intelligence in my people. Every day I'm feeding the sheep. Body, mind, heart, spirit. Number 2, we torched everything. Everything old. You can't go first class. You can't go big if little got you. Okay? Number 3, we hired key people who had killer instinct, believe the same things we did. Okay? Number 4, we played up. Based on a conversation I had with Hall of Fame coach Rick Insell, he told me, you're more interested in winning games than you are winning championships. Your players are not battle tested. Who's battle testing your staff? Where are you going to get better? When's the last time you had coaching? You got to get around people much better than you that play at much higher levels. Number 5, we pushed the envelope in every way possible. How hard will you exert energy? How far will you push? Will you go till people tell you no? What will you do to make this work, okay? We pushed the envelope in every single way possible. We challenged the status quo. We tested the limits. We didn't kowtow to other people or listen to outside opinions. We just pushed. And sometimes people bought in, and sometimes people didn't. Now, let me give you number 6. We acted as if. Here's what I hear a lot of people say. We don't have the time, the energy, the money, the resources. Here's what I know. If another person has achieved some level of success in your field, doing what you do that you have not, they may have more money. They may have more resources, but that don't mean you can't do your version of what they're doing. That don't mean you can't pretend that you're already there and work backward from that vision. Quit making excuses of why you can't build a great culture because you don't have this and you don't have that and they got more money. It's all excuses. Excuse is a self-proclaimed opt-out. You make your little piece of the pie, the best little piece of pie you can. And don't worry about all that. So act as if and then become, okay? And here's so many people do that. And here's number 7. Embrace the dark side. I think people have negative obsessions in their life, negative addictions in their life. And here's what I've learned. You can take a negative and use that same energy for a positive. You can take a negative addiction in your life and use it for a positive. So you can convert that energy. And what I mean by that is, in my 20s to 30s, I had a raw, uncontrolled ambition about me. And since then, now that I'm in my 40s, I have tempered some of that ambition because it scares people off. But I would tell you there's certain days I need that raw ambition. And part of me being a championship coach was a pure, raw, unpolished ambition to go out there and achieve something. And so for you, sometimes I push the envelope, and sometimes I need to tap in. I won't call it the dark side, but I need to tap into some of that raw energy to go do something big, lose my fear like I didn't have from 20 to 25. I didn't have any fear. I didn't have any fear of failure. I was so naive I didn't even know. Now everything is more calculated. Everything is more measured. Everything is safer. And so I would tell you number 7 I did when I built the championship culture is, man, I tapped into that raw ambition that people have to want to be great. And I didn't temper it. And I didn't put it in a box. And I didn't package it up. And for you, sometimes you got to get back to that. You got to embrace your raw ambition just like you were a kid. You got to go back when you were a kid, when you had dreams and hopes and visions and goals. And you didn't listen to people tell you couldn't do it. See, you become an adult, people tell you not to do it. It's not a safe play. It's not a risk. And I read in an article this weekend something that I think was really good. It said, only a tiny fraction of people in the world will ever create enough income to take risk on. And out of those people that create income, only a tiny fraction of them will ever put it in harm's way to grow anything. That's an elite group of people. So for a coach, as a manager, maybe it's time for you to push the envelope a little harder. Maybe it's time you let out some of that raw ambition, because these are the 7 things that I did to kickstart a culture that eventually turned into a dynasty. I took the same raw passion and I have now put it into my business. So here's the deal. Water what you want to grow. Tend to that culture. Tend to your people. Spend time with them. We always reap what we sow more than we sowed it for longer than it was sown. Your people are the geese laying the golden eggs. Feed those sheep. Get serious about protecting your culture. And one day you'll wake up and you'll have a championship culture if you do these 7 things. Every month, podcast, you can find this iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podcast Republic, Good Coach, Bad Coach, Secrets that great coaches know that the others never figure out. If I went back to coach today, I'd be 10 times better than when I was a championship coach because of the knowledge, the skills, and the experiences that I've created over the last 10 years. Go out there and be a great coach that other people run through the wall for. I'm Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach, and this has been the latest edition of Good Coach, Bad Coach. Hey guys, Coach Michael Burt, and I get asked all of the time, what does a good coach do? See, a good coach should engage you in a set of systematic behaviors that allows you to do something tomorrow you can't do today. They should find and fill your missing structures. They help you break through that ceiling of success that you can't break through on your own. And that, my friend, is why everybody needs a good coach in life. Check out Coach Michael Burt's Total Growth Academy at CoachBurt.com.